Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is a trainer education, and we're going to discuss setting rep ranges for clients. So this is actually a conversation we started in the last kind of two trainer education podcasts, which were about exercise selection. So part one was at number 433 podcast. Part two was 437. And 437, part two, we discussed the limiting factor of exercises in terms of what muscles or issues might limit an exercise's effectiveness into our intended target. And then we brought up the idea of selecting proper rep ranges based on the outcomes that we wanted from the exercises. And that's something that's actually really important. And I feel that rep ranges sometimes have been kind of too easily accepted as being constant from person to person and like over time, all exercises, that kind of thing. So, meaning like most people think 10 exercises of a bicep curl will do kind of the same resulting effect as 10 reps. So 10 reps of a bicep curl, I'm not sure if I said something different, but 10 reps of a bicep curl, they think will do the same thing as 10 reps of squats in terms of the results that they produce. And in some exercises that's true, in some exercises it's not. And then also with some of our clients, it's true, and some of our clients, it's not. So I wanted to kind of talk about that concept, and let's just elaborate on it a little bit. So one of the favorite things about my job is half the clients I work with right now are personal trainers. And it's extremely exciting, and that's actually what prompted me to make these trainer education podcasts. And I love working with personal trainers because anything I'm able to impart on them will get filtered into their clients. So it makes me feel kind of better about myself in the sense that I get to feel like I'm making a broader influence in the world, which is cool. And also, personal trainers are more dedicated. This is a passion. They're more likely to follow the nutrition plan the right way. They're more likely to keep up with their training. They're more likely to be excited about things. So it's just kind of like they're an easier client, if that makes sense, than the typical type people where you have to drag them kicking and screaming into things that are good for them. So it's nice, wonderful, and I'm grateful to be able to work with personal trainers. And one of the things we do is we do consultations, we do ghostwriting where I help with program writing where their client doesn't know anybody's helping. So that's the ghost part. But that's what I love doing, is getting involved and helping trainers become better at their ability to help the people that have trusted them with that role. So it's super cool, okay? So the reason that this came up was actually due to a consultation, the concept of rep ranges and selecting them best per client. So I was talking with a trainer and we were discussing kind of, okay, you would normally do, X number of reps for X type of result. And we ran across a scenario in which that wasn't true. So they said, well, this is the typical rep ranges. This is what I would do. And I said, you know what? Has that been working? And we talked through it, and we found out that really they've had some people that had really plateaued and weren't making progress, and it was due to the fact that they had just kind of believed the general rep range concept, but never really questioned it, never really experimented with it, never really paid attention to it. So let's go through this a little bit. Now, in podcast 214, titled Understanding Rep Ranges and Expected Results, we talked about the concept that rep ranges are actually representative of time under tension. So when you accept the weight load onto your body and the muscles are tensioned against the weight load, that starts the time under tension. So if I spend 10 seconds of time under tension with an exercise, in which by 10 seconds I reach mechanical failure, I either physically can't move it correctly or I'd have to break proper positioning in order to move it. So you're no longer actually using the right muscles. So if we do an exercise for 10 seconds of time under tension, there's a pretty predictable result. Now, the question becomes, how many reps can I do in 10 seconds? So typically as trainers, when we provide exercise programming to clients, we have them count repetitions, not seconds. Because it's kind of hard to do the exercise in whatever the position is, at whatever the correct speed is, and then also try to watch a clock or try to count seconds out. So often we try to simplify it and say, okay, do a set of 3 to 5 reps. And we assume a set of 3 to 5 reps is going to take a set amount of time. However, there are certain exercises that have shorter ranges of motion than other exercises. Let's take, for example, a calf raise versus a squat. You can do a repetition of a calf raise in pretty much a shorter time period than you can do the repetition of a squat. Even if both exercises are controlled to kind of the same eccentric, concentric timing, okay? Maybe you have a 2 count, this is, you'll get what I mean by this if we kind of don't go too far into the details. But the range of motion of a calf raise is significantly shorter than the range of motion of a squat. So typically the time it takes to do 10 repetitions of a calf raise will be shorter than the time it takes to do 10 repetitions of squats. So even though they're both done for the exact same rep range, that doesn't mean they're done for the exact same time under tension. And the results that we get from our exercises are not based on consistent rep counts. It's based on consistent known effects of time under tension. So, for example, in podcast 214, we elaborate on what I'm about to say right now. So if you want more detail, go check that out. But in general, if you do exercises of 0 to 10 seconds, that is learning how to display your current strength and or testing to see where your current strength is. So if I do a 1 rep max, that actually doesn't make me stronger. If I practice enough 1 rep maxes, it can improve my ability to perform a 1 rep max. I can then be more efficient in the process of a 1 rep max, and I can better display the current strength I have at a 1 rep max. Or a 1 rep max is good at seeing what you can do right now. And then you would establish your programming maybe based off that on certain percentages or certain rep ranges or time and tensions from that known number. But a 1 rep max, if I just walk into the gym, I do some, warm-ups, and then I work up to a 1 rep max, and whether I get it or don't get it doesn't even really matter. And then I just kind of meander and piss around with my friends and bullshit and don't do much after that of any significant intensity or with any significant attention. I'm not going to get stronger. You may have some effect of better displaying your strength. So maybe, every once in a while, like every 3, 4, 5 weeks, you hit a little bit of a 5-pound PR kind of thing. And more so what it is you're just becoming more efficient at doing a 1 rep max. You're not actually getting 5 or 10 pounds stronger. So 0 to 10 second activities, they allow you to display your current strength better or test your current strength, but they very rarely produce new strength. Okay? Now, if I do, 1 rep max combined with really well done other exercises. So I do other exercises really well. So let's say I do bench pressing, okay? And then all of a sudden I go do dumbbell incline chest presses, and I pay very good attention to them. I do them in the correct rep ranges with the correct kind of movement intention. And then I go do tricep press downs, and maybe I throw in like lat pull downs to help with my bracing and stability of the bench press. Then yes, you are building strength, but you're not building strength from the 1 rep of the bench press you did. You're building strength from the dumbbells, the tricep press downs, and the lat pull downs. So when we talk about 0 to 10 seconds being displaying strength or testing strength, and it doesn't build new strength, that is independent of anything else in the training. So for the individual exercise you're discussing, if you do 10 seconds or less of it, and that's your working sets, you will very rarely build new strength. Now, if you do stuff for 10 to 20 seconds of time under tension, so I do enough repetitions and still a heavy weight, but I can do enough reps to kind of be somewhere in that 10 to 20 seconds of time under tension range before my muscles kind of fail, then I will actually produce increased strength. I will have a greater amount of strength to then show or display later on. So 0 to 10 seconds is displaying my current strength or testing my current strength. 10 to 20 seconds of time under tension is building my strength. 20 to 30 seconds of time under tension is heavy muscle damage, meaning we're trying to create muscle damage for the effects of bodybuilding if I'm eating in a surplus, or to help with fat loss or refining or shaping the body if I'm eating in a caloric control or deficit. And the reason why we say heavy muscle damage is 10 to 20 seconds you can still go relatively heavy on exercises like that. Heavy enough that you'll actually even kind of maybe potentially annoy the joints if you do it too much or too often. Whereas activities of 30 to 40 seconds are medium level muscle damage. So a little bit lighter, a little bit less stress on the joints, a little bit less muscle damage, but sometimes you want that less wear and tear on the joints, and that makes the lifting just a little bit safer, a little bit easier. Okay, especially if you have arthritic issues or if you have an annoyed joint already going into the workout. So then activities of 40 to 60 seconds are kind of like light muscle damage. You're going to get some muscle damage, but it's going to more so start kicking into like endurance style work. And that's usually very friendly on the joints because it's not really loaded very heavily. So those are the time under tension ranges and what result they tend to produce. And that is talked more about in podcast 214. And we've talked about how these ranges are generalities. So if I do something, if 0 to 10 seconds is displaying testing strength and 10 to 20 seconds is building new strength, well, if I'm in that like 8 to 12 second range, does that mean I get a little bit of both? Probably. So these are